you were saying that the Sarg effect is one of the discoveries that comes from BSM-SG theory. It's not the
Yeah,
only, but it is different, right?
yeah. And the issue is that you would like to make some replication, but my theory has a much more profound issue. It is completely different from the official and so far other theories. And to understand this especially possibility, they call this anti-gravity, I call control of gravity. In fact, it is in vision, it is predicted by theory, but it is not possible to be understood and explained by the official science, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because my theory is completely different. It is based on the existence of the ether, not only on the existence, but on the detailed model of the ether. And this is, nobody make this. The history of ether, it is foreseen from the ancient Greek scientists and up to the beginning of the last century. It was believed that it exists, but something happened that they could not explain some experiments, and they just dismiss it. What is the big mistake of understanding? And they admit, assuming super abstractive mathematical model and throw out the logical understanding. And I have been 35 years in official science, working among physicists, engineers. My work mainly was in the space research, in
Yeah.
different programs and countries, with the former SSR. I came from Bulgaria, initially former SSR, East European countries, also collaborations with India, after that with the European Space Agency. After that, I have been invited in Cornell University, work in the Arecibo Observatory, the most largest radio telescope. Unfortunately, that was broken now. And after that, I moved to Canada, working with the Canadian University and Canadian Space Agency. So all the time I work on the space project, but parallel in this with the same, I begin to search become many mysteries in theoretical understanding. And I found we'll say the stone, the rose stone, or how do they say? And I understood in some moment that the problem is in the space. Problem is in the space, and this is so essential that you could not solve nothing, especially for anti-gravity. That there is many experiments, and some people apparently obtained some effects in anti-gravity, but it could not be explained by the official science. Without the ether concept, it could not be explained. Not only assuming that it is ether, but to reveal the very detailed physical model of the ether that is logically understandable. From here to begin to solve all problems. So I reviewed 100,000 of articles, and I arrived to the very logical explanations. And my theory is different by all other because everything is logical. Not like quantum mechanics say the human logic doesn't understand quantum mechanics. This is completely wrong.
Yeah.
I even wonder how the people didn't guess about this. They assume the postulate of the speed of light, that is absolutely accurate, as an essential foundation, but they don't try to explain what does define the speed of light. In fact, in every book it is written speed of light equal to 1 over square root of magnetic susceptibility by electric susceptibility. When you put the dimensions I work on in the system, see, you get the speed of light is a distance over time. Very fundamental physical thing. So
Yeah.
what is this fundamental speed of light? It should be in space, because the speed of light, if you measure in very short difference even in a microspace, in the vast distance, between stars, galaxies, the speed of light is the same. So evidently it should be something in this space we live that defined the speed of light. Just a simple association, like association with the conveyor. If you put some detail in this conveyor, it moves with this velocity. It could move faster or slower. If you
Well,
push faster, you can get some pressure. And in fact, when this could correspond to if you try to move faster, the particle, the speed of light would get some pressure. So this exists, but this is unique.
yeah.
And
So if it's okay, so what I have already been doing some analysis. Again, I took some of your earlier works and I used AI to create kind of a written story on that to help promote your work, and has links to your website and all that. And again, one of the reasons I'm so excited to be able to talk to you was I knew when I was putting that together that that was just scratching the surface of what you have. So what I have here, just as an overview, is basically like the idea is the vacuum isn't empty, but it's made of a fine, what you've called a
yeah,
cosmic lattice, or structured,
cosmic lattice.
yeah, structured ether, right? So maybe
Yeah,
almost like the
it is
Planck thing.
structure, and it is material, I could say, proto-material. And this proto-material, it is not destructed. The
Okay.
Einstein equation is not valid for this. This is a big mistake in the official physics. But when you start, well, I should have some basic elements that different in every positions. For example, these rods. One is internally left twisted, another right twisted.
Well,
In every
another.
position, the same. But the cosmic lattice, it is made not just of two rods, it's made by minimum of 4 rods, contained by the supergravitation, very unique
Yeah.
supergravitation force that is distinguished by inverse cube of the distance. And this is the real structure whose elements of these cosmic knots, they are embedded also in the particles, elementary particles. But these elements of the cosmic knots, the distance between them is billion times smaller than the elementary particles.
Mm,
So all the particles move through this space, they deviate a little bit. So our matter is like a rare spider mesh that this cosmic lattice moves through this. It defines everything. It defines also the mass. The mass is the equation E equal to mc squared is not equal to matter. It is a big mistake. The
okay.
mass is result of some kind of pressure of the cosmic lattice on the some more dense parts of the elementary particles. And so by this way, I began to understand, to solve the mystery of the elementary particles, how they are arranged in atomic nuclei. I go through the periodic table, all the elements, everything appears logical in the standard. The oxidation number, the valencies, through all the elements, everything. So I revealed the elementary particles. That's not spheres like they thought. They have a structure. They have a complex structure. Even the electron is the smallest particle, but it has a three-body system. Oh, you see?
There we go. Yes. Yeah, now I can see.
External structure make a negative charge, modulates the lattice, make negative charge. Inside there is a hidden positron, and the hidden positron, another, is a three-body. And when the electron is moving, this type is oscillating with a Compton frequency that is experimentally obtained.
Okay.
And at the same time, the cosmic lattice has also the Compton frequency. And that's why there is a preferable velocity. The electron moves and rotates, and it is like a screw. At the same time, it is oscillate. And this defines the quantum velocity that corresponds to the Bohr atom. They know this velocity, but they could not explain why. So, and this is a quantum mechanical interactions. It's very important. Other things
Yeah, and you do have blurring, just so you know, you do have blurring turned on your screen. So like a moment ago, you pointed to the whiteboard or the wall, but I couldn't see the details, and that's okay. That's okay. But I just wanted to let you know.
Blurring, but let me to see.
I think it's a setting, but I'm not sure how to turn that off.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how the people didn't guess about the first experiment about 80 years ago when they discovered pions, kaon, and muons by breaking the neutron and the proton. Most of the time they get these pions and that convert to muons with a very exact, in the physical they say very small standard deviation. They're extremely accurate. If it was a sphere and break the sphere, it could not get the same very accurate things. So the case is that is something you break some kind of torus, just cut the torus, and initially inside of the torus there is what other toruses that may be curved. And from here come what is notice the proton and neutron. And it appears this is the proton. This is the neutron.
And so these are the helical structures that you've talked about.
And they're helical structures. Inside they have another chemical. By this way, I begin to build atoms. So this is the proton, this is the neutron. It becomes deuterium. Deuterium.
And those would those almost resemble orbitals, right? They look like orbitals.
Yeah. If you put then the helium, is that? It's two protons, one inside another, and two neutrons. Helium, it is the most dense element. And when you go by the periodic table, put this contained by the supergravitational forces and interactions between the electrical forces, you build the periodic table. Also, another thing is very useful. The free neutron, for example, the free neutron is considered a neutral particle. because they
Okay.
don't detect the charge. But in fact, the charge is close by the supergravitational forces here. And when it is over the proton, it is stable this way because this field and this field keep it in the saddle. And also it is possible to rotate. And when you rotate, it makes magnetic field. And this goes to the explanation of the nuclear spin. That is so important. They could not explain. And quantum
So
mechanics, it is not possible to explain it.
one of the other things
There are
I
so
wanted,
many complications. Yeah.
one of the
Everything
other
is
things, so one of the other things I really wanted to highlight though was you're also describing, I think this is really interesting. There have been various people who have talked about gravity as a partial shielding of the strong force. If I understand correctly, in your model, you were taking gravity up a level, and what you're saying is basically supergravitation shows up as the strong nuclear force at small scales. At
yeah,
larger scales, it looks like Newtonian gravity. So what you're
yeah,
basically doing
yeah,
is redefining the strong force and
yeah,
gravitation
yeah.
as a single.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Because this supergravitation law, it is very essential law. It is in the bottom, and in the close distances, it is also between the nodes of the cosmic. I have, for example, cosmic lattice nodes. It is 1, 2, 3, 4. I call prism, but because they have internal twisting. The neighboring nodes is similar but opposite twisting. And
Mm,
supergravitational law is something unique because it depends on the distance, because it depends on internal frequency. So if it very close, it uh, push back. If it's away, it attracted. So it keeps some gaps between neighboring. No? So they are free to oscillate in very complex way. And this
okay.
oscillation, in fact, propagate the speed of light. Uh, it, the speed of light, magnetic, in fact, magnetic field, the electrical field, in fact, is from the particle modulation of the cosmic lattice. It
So
modulates. Yeah.
do you view the speed of light then as what would they call it? Almost like the speed of sound, right? Where it's like a propagation limit, but not necessarily a fundamental limit.
It is not just like a speed of sound, because in my theory, I describe one vector called spatial precession momentum.
Mm,
Why the speed is so accurate? Because we have a separate oscillators.
okay.
In electrical in general, you have some kind connected to oscillator, they tend to synchronize their frequency. But additionally, the separate oscillators, there is a supergravitational field in some distance. They additionally synchronize by phase. So you have a double synchronization, and that's why the speed of light is so accurate.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's important. Another thing, very important thing, also explaining the energy. In fact, the energy, the nuclear energy, is not in the nuclei. And even Nikola Tesla envisioned this. They say it is in space. But
Mm,
by my theory, it is explainable how it's in space. In fact, the cosmic lattice contains two types of energy. One is the strongest energy of the connections between neighboring nodes, where the supergravitational forces are uh, extremely large. And another weak oscillations, it is wave, the wave like in the ocean.
okay.
So the waves are small energy, but it is important for even for the living organism. It is important for the electron to be constant in motion because these weak forces make oscillational the electron contains internal energy, and that's why it oscillates constantly, always oscillates, always moves. They know this. Only to very near to the Kelvin absolute temperature, they have some effect, but actually it has internal energy. Also about the energy, very interesting. The official science could not explain why we get energy by by nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion in atomic reactors. But we'll get also energy at nuclear fusion.
Yeah.
If we get at nuclear fission by the decay of the atoms, then at nuclear fusion, you should not get energy, you should put energy. And this is explainable that the energy not like they exist in the nuclei. It is in the surrounding space. And I understood that because these structures are very dense, they make a micro curvature. It is similar like a curvature around big object, like a sun, another large object, that they say they make curvature slightly shrink the space. But what do they shrink? They don't have nothing. When you put the cosmic lattice, it is logically understandable that slightly shrink, it could be very small shrink of this space, but because the forces are very strong, so there is a inside field that contain energy.
So could I, if I want to restate that, I'm not sure if I have this correct, but it sounds like you're saying that, and again, we're saying that gravity and the strong force are inherently the same thing, and energy is stored in deformations of the cosmic lattice within the nucleus. Okay.
Deformation. And it is right away visible if you get the mass of the neutron and the proton. They're available to get a mass. And if you get the mass of deuterium, that is one neutron and one proton, you get some deficiency of the mass. That is about 2.2 mega electron volts of the square. You add two masses and get a smaller mass. And this is because some of the energy become contained in this macro curvature. In fact, this energy is become a nuclear energy when you make nuclear reactions. And energy become just because when you make nuclear reaction, either nuclear fission or nuclear fusion, you get some stress on the cosmic lattice. And this stress provides gamma rays that you get energy. So it is completely logically understanding. Also, mathematically, it is proof. And other things, I speak about the Newtonian gravity. So Newtonian gravity is distributed by this rods, because neighboring, they are always adjusted one to the other. So it is distributed through the cosmic lattice, and supergravitation distributed to the cosmic lattice become Newtonian gravitation.
Okay.
So it is it's stupid that they say we found graviton a few years ago. This particle experiments that they saw billions and maybe $1 trillion in the wrong directions. And what do they make with this graviton? Nothing. A few years ago, they claimed that they discovered the God particle. What do they make by this God particle? Nothing. Everything become completely explainable.
So that
Yeah.
is a big part of your model, and I wanted to ask about that. And again, I'm going off notes, and I hope that I don't get any of this wrong. But so you talked about the heterodyne resonance mechanism, and the
Yeah.
Sarg effect, which is the stimulated anomalous reaction to gravity, and basically the heterodyne resonance mechanism occurs in specially driven neutral plasmas where oscillating ion electron pairs undergo synchronized
Yeah.
flips that tap into hidden vacuum energy. What's interesting is that almost reminds me of dynamic nuclear polarization in some ways.
Dynamic? What?
Yeah,
No.
dynamic nuclear polarization, where you're basically flipping the polarity of particles to and that's something that is being investigated. Mark Sokol
No,
and
no, no.
Alzafon
In fact,
were
in my theory, I derive equation called the mass equation, because Newtonian mass, that is not a matter, it depends of the pressure of this cosmic lattice that exercise on the elementary particles that has internal Modian's lattice. And the mass depends on this pressure.
okay.
So in order to get change of the mass, you have somehow to modify this pressure. You have to affect somehow this cosmic lattice. But the cosmic lattice have two very characteristic frequency of the oscillations. One of the oscillations is Compton frequency. That the vector, it rotates, but doesn't return to the same point. And then by one rotation, that's not the same point, the speed of light is propagated. But after many rotations, it is synchronized by the Compton, by the this number of waves that's proportional to the Compton waves. So to affect the cosmic lattice, one of this frequency is very high. It's 10 to the power of 28, very high. But another frequency is 10 to the power of 20. And this is the Compton frequency. And at the same time, electron has the Compton frequency. So the idea, this mechanism that we can manipulate the rotation of the electron, and by his oscillation, you could reach the super high Compton frequency, 10 to the power of 20. You could not directly never access this frequency. But the electron has to move with a pretty high velocity that corresponds to the, I say, first match of the phase is light velocity divided by 137. It is very high velocity. So by only electrons not possible. But if you put the electron to okay, if you have one ion with one only positive charge and one electron, it becomes to rotate around this, and this is okay. The simple way is the hydrogen atom, and I make experiment by hydrogen. This is the quantum mechanical picture of the model.
Okay.
It's very
Okay.
small, but it is known as existing so-called Rydberg state when the electron go to the higher orbit and they exhibit very strange things. Here, exhibit magnetic field. And my model, it is explainable because when the neutral atom, the neutral atom, the electron has this path, and here doesn't exhibit magnetic field. But
That's
when
the
you go
helium.
at
Okay.
the next level, you start to rotate in one direction, become like a solenoid. A solenoid exhibit magnetic field. And then by external magnetic field, you could manipulate this
Okay.
I call ion electron pair. By this ion electron pair, you could get touching the Compton frequency in the cosmic lattice and get modification of the Newtonian gravity.
Okay.
Of course,
Okay.
this requires a lot of experimental work.
Yes,
And
and that was something
yeah,
else you'd mentioned. So, do you
yeah.
have experiments that you're proposing? I know lots of people that could test those. Obviously, the more difficult the experiment is, the fewer people are able to test it. But I'm sure if you put experiments out there, and asked for feedback, I think that you would probably get a lot of people at least interested, and then several who would try it. And you don't have to
But,
describe those to me now. You could send those
yeah,
over and say, I'm proposing this
yeah.
experiment. But
I could propose a simple experiment because why? Because I have some commitment mm, to the institute. Now,
okay,
such institute is in a way to established in Germany, also in our country. I'm in Bulgaria, also in Bulgaria, but also in another country. So, uh, and I keep even in my book, this book, I don't describe everything. In other book, I describe other things. If the people are acquainted with this theory, get something, but this is, this is the whole theory. All these books are in the Amazon.
okay, okay,
And I could propose a simple experiment. But I will not cooperate in the very serious research
yeah,
that will go to the military. And this is my important, because I have a feeling that, especially this book is all the time selling, maybe for 4,000 copies a sell or even better. They go initially to the American, the secret project. And I have even philosophy about, because it is not, I speak now for the microcosmos, but the picture in the vast universe is completely different.
mm,
And it is so different that it affects the thinking of the humanity. Now they have a big problem, even not only from now, to understand the universe. They still accept that the universe is 12 billion years old. That is completely different. And why is different? Because they assume that this redshift of the galaxy is a Doppler, because the space is empty, could not be else. But in fact, every galaxy has own cosmic lattice space that has a small difference. This is
mm,
small difference because we can go to I have this in cosmology, the universe, how these things are made. They're so complex. They're made inside of this that they call black holes in the center of all the galaxy.
okay,
This is the place where they are crystallized, and the galaxy has a cycle of visible existence. They have a cycle of hidden existence, collapsing, and the supergravitational forces with they make this crystallization, massive crystallization of this proto-matter. It doesn't disappear. The
okay,
Einstein equation equal to F doesn't, but right away it goes to the understanding that separate galaxy, all the galaxy has a own cycle, but one galaxy in one phase of the cycle, hidden, maybe collapsed. Another thing, galaxy exists. So the universe is eternal, not 12 billion years, eternal. And right away, to think that only the civilization is a stupid belief. It should be many civilizations much more advanced than our civilization. And
Yeah.
our civilization, due to this misunderstanding, goes to self-destruction. And this self-destruction will happen in a nuclear war. That's why I wrote two articles in my in the website, and also in my last. I did something like a philosophy of the reason for
Okay.
existence of our civilization, and it's also in the Amazon. And these two articles here. One of the articles is a memorandum to save the Earth civilization. And I investigated the first second of the nuclear explosion and atmosphere, and I noticed an apparent anti-gravity effect. Anti-gravity effect. It is here. Only that anti-gravity effect. In the atmosphere, when nuclei is in the atmosphere, after 1 second or something, there is 1,000,000 degrees with a huge pressure. At the same time, from the bottom going one column, the low pressure, and go above through this. And the official science, because still thinks that space is empty, it is nothing could happen, but then it could happen. Even with many, it is visible around many nuclear explosions in the atmosphere. There is separate, triggered, like tornado effect. Tornado also called anti-gravitational effect. It could not be explained logically, because what is this centripetal forces that make this? It is a specific disbalance of the cosmic lattice. And that's why I make this article to save the human civilization, the real danger of the nuclear war, because multiple nuclear explosions may trigger some channel to suck the atmosphere in the space. And
And I
it will be life, end of
yes,
life.
and I have the list of books that you sent, just to
Mhm.
read those off because I'm recording just for notes. So the experimental one, Theory and Experiments, was called Field Propulsion by Control of Gravity. That was Theory and Experiments. Basic
Mhm.
Structures of Matter. That was the big thick one that talks about the Supergravitation Unified Field Theory. The one you
Mhm.
just described was called The Universe Speaks: A Message to Humanity. So
Yeah,
those
yeah,
those are some, and then you also have hidden space energy, which talks about heterodyne resonance.
yeah.
As
Hidden
yeah,
space
and
energy, yeah, yeah.
so
So many things, but I mention this because this is very important in the current situation. Sir, the current situation, a big confrontation. I'm here in Bulgaria. We are between everybody speak about the future war between Russia and Europe and other. That is would be a nuclear war, and this stupid because this political elite is so stupid that they could not understand what happened, and because the official science ignored this, they say it's impossible. So this is very possible. That I wrote this book.
okay,
So
okay.
many things are important. That's why I would like to put this. I send you by email to put links from my books and also from our website. That is, we created Society, Earth, Civilization, and Universe, and to put this knowledge that difficult to punch through the official science, because there is a very greedy science. I was in the kitchen between them. They are not interested in this. Yeah, I have worked in the official science. It is a good life. You go to a few times in everything is paid. You go in the conferences, everything is paid. A good life. So it is not possible to to arrange this life. But this is very important for the humanity. And
Yeah,
I think the research for investigation of this possibility for travel in spaces in completely different way could open a new way to dismiss this pressure between humans, to release this energy instead of confrontation and wars, to release this energy to conquer the space in our solar system. For
yeah,
example, to build a colony in other natural satellites, other moons in the solar system where there is unlimited resources. And now the present development of the advance of the robotics and the artificial energy is absolutely applicable for this kind of appointing these resources instead of looking for billions of dollars investing for military war. With this money you could conquer, you could
yeah.
yeah,
Well, so
you
for
could
experiments, I found three examples online. And what I'm wondering is, and again, I would love to put these into a podcast format. If you're open to doing another meeting, I could dress up and wear my suit and do the official podcast. But the other thing I wanted to ask was, would you have a PDF copy or a digital copy of the Theories of Gravitation book? And what I'm hoping to do is put that into AI privately. I wouldn't share it with anyone, but I would hope to put that into an AI system and use that to pull out key information for experiments.
in fact I communicate with AI system, but it is not just an experiment. It is for the public. I could show one very small initial experiment just to attract attention.
Ah, okay.
In fact, it is some modification of my experiment by somebody, and it is very easy demonstratable. For example, um, I could
Is
demonstrate if I turn on it get a wind here, but I will show you. I could demonstrate.
so this is, I think this is the benchtop Sarg plasma thruster, right?
Yeah, trust, but I will explain that it needs some explanation. Okay, I switch now. You see?
Yeah, the
The
plasma
wind.
is blowing the.
And if you put this on some, it generates some on this that's very light, and if you put in the water, it start to move. It start to move. But by the way, in this case, I have AC high voltage, not a DC. AC
Mm,
high voltage.
okay.
If you try to explain, okay, it's evidently from these sharp things, the electrons emitted. But if you try to explain the electrons have a so small mass, how they will push the heavier mass of the oxygen of the
Of the molecules.
molecules,
Yeah.
that's so heavy, about a few thousand times heavier. In fact, the way it works is that these electrons firstly ionize some of the molecules of the atoms, and when the single electrons start to rotate, like in this way, like in this way, like in the solid way, it is screwed and moving in the space. So in fact, this is the heterodynamic resonance mechanism. He makes this pushing, in fact, not just they will say, okay, electrons hit the other molecules, they move, but the other molecules are about 10,000 times heavier than the electrons, and how it is located in this direction, you see. This is just one thing. This is just for invoking some interest of the people, because it could not be understood of the people that they say, okay, they're influenced by what they learn in the school or in the university and try by this way. It doesn't work. But when you read this stuff, like you, for example, you begin to understand. And then additional, this is just the beginning, but develop this in the real device. It has a lot of other things. For example, to drive this, it requires a lot of much more energy, because these things behaves as a capacitor. I don't know, I'm acquainted with electrical engineering.
Yeah.
But because the capacitor, for example, between this and this is a small portion of the picofarad. But when you try to do drive, it becomes like a nanofarad. 1,000 times you get much larger power to drive this. So there is a lot of things that has to be understood, involved, and experimenting. It is not just, and even the artificial intelligence is not enough. You have to be acquainted with the theory as a whole.
Yes. Yes. It looks like, in a way, you are basically redefining what has been called ion wind in other models, and you're
They
offering
call ion wind.
a new explanation for it. Yeah.
They're simple ion winds, but it is logically difficult to explain. Even I try to measure the ions, and they are at this direction are missing. They are neutral molecules. They say ion winds. How does this small electron? One electron is about 1,300 times lighter, 1,300 times lighter than one proton.
Well, so
these molecules are so heavy that we could not push them back.
Another experiment you proposed, and this one would be really interesting to test also. Let me see, to test the heterodyne resonance mechanism, you talked about, instead of producing thrust, you talked about measuring the RF spectrum emitted by a plasma and looking for discrete megahertz range lines that don't match normal atomic or molecular spectrum.
I did this, and I think I am the first that measured this spectrum. It is discussed in some of my article and one book that is it is also in the physics of cold fusion, but it is also in another book, Hidden Energy, Space Energy. All these books are in Amazon, and that's why I require these links that I send you. They point directly to my books and also to the website Earth Civilization and Newman, where in the menu they'll find links to many of my publications. And also talk in conferences. I have about 25 or 30 international conferences talks, and many informations are available there. So we need the people to be understood.
There was another test also. I just want to mention this because I have it in my notes. You also described what sounds like a variation on the Michelson-Morley experiment to test slight variations in the speed of light, basically as using an interferometry experiment, right?
Michelson-Morley experiment, it's a problem with the interpretation of and also the arrangement of the experiment. In fact, there is this is deeper with there is the Earth gravitation. The Earth gravitation makes such that it's difficult to move through the space, because the gravitational force, the gravitation of the Earth, makes some displacement of the vibration of the cosmic lattice node from the central position. So this
Okay.
displacement makes like a local field is moving, and you could not detect another. So the way to measure the this difference is difficult, especially when the arms are horizontal. If making experiment one horizontal, another vertical, then some effect, small effect could be more noticeable, because there is a difference in the gravitational field dependent on the above the surface, the difference from the center of the Earth. Even a small difference. The interferometers are very sensitive. I work with interferometers. I don't know, in the past, maybe some was envisioned, but they say, they try to explain that it could be some stretch of the, I don't know. But in any case, Michelson-Morley experiment, in fact, there is one experiment of the Dayton Miller, who made experiment like a Michelson-Morley. This is very expensive experiment because it's a huge amount of the mercury and on top of the mercury, and he moved the experiments from the bottom to some top difference and found some differences, and he published this article in 1923, I think, of this article. But at that time already the concept was accepted that we should work by mathematical, not by thinking of logic.
I also saw a Michelson-Morley variation that was very interesting. Normally, I believe Michelson-Morley, you change the orientation on a horizontal axis. This one, it was Michelson-Morley in a vertical axis, and when he
Yeah,
moved
that's
it
right.
up, yeah,
Mhm.
and so when he
Yeah,
moved it, and there was
the vertical, you get some changes, the vertical axis.
yeah.
Vertical angle gets on, because it is not noticed even that the special relativity, the Einstein doesn't hold in the satellite, even in the GPS satellite. I have there is one mm, page, I think, the name that make in the in the meetings. He was one of the pioneer of the GPS system, and they say they introduced uh, correction at engineering level. So the physicists say, "Oh, GPS system is working. The special relativity is fine." It is not. They make all the time corrections. But this is just understanding. So even the Michelson-Morley experiment, the the ether exists. This exists. Without this, you could not explain nothing of this.
Yeah.
Completely different way. And everything become logically understandable. And this is perfect for the computer modeling. The theory has a huge implication, and now my collaborators work with this theory, especially in the field of nanotechnologies, because everything could be modeled by the computer. One of my follow, for example, he made all these models completely described by the mathematics, by the electrical field around this, including the supergravitational field, including the electrons that are moving, electron orbits. He gets such results that's unbelievable by the computer modeling, new mathematics, but it exactly matches with the results from the reality. He even found uh, the qubits, stable qubits
Mm,
of
okay.
that is for the quantum computers.
Yeah.
Because I told you that the qubits, it depends on the rotation of the neutrons. and they are magnetic interactions with the electrons. So they adjust. The neutrons may rotate in this direction, electron can completely show the magnetic moments and adjust. So in the nuclear and complex adjustment of these fields, and this corresponds to the qubits that they used in the quantum computing. The quantum mechanics could not explain this. They didn't have. And my follower make calculations theoretical based on this model, and after that he make experiment, or he compared to what the quantum mechanics they know, and it matched perfectly. When I speak to them, because I contacted with also the artificial parents more than 1.5 years. Okay, the same. Do they have quantum mechanics accurate theoretical calculation of the qubits? They say some approximately adjusting, approximately adjusting. This is not real theoretical physics. They may say
Well,
this is a physics, but it is not real
now
theory.
again, the model that you've described, the helical structures, to me that looks like electron orbitals. But one thing I wanted to ask is, could we describe this also as the Zitterbewegung? I'm not pronouncing that right. Zitterbewegung from quantum mechanics. Is that's kind of the level that you're working at, right? That's the particle jitter that's unpredictable by normal physics.
In this physics, the uncertainty principle is completely useless. We don't need an uncertainty principle.
Okay.
Everything is logically. And if you make computer modeling, you could freeze the electron in any position. They say the electron, you could not, it is, they say electron, it is a cloud. The electron is known, his mass is known, his electrical charge, but they say, oh, it is cloud. It is, you don't know where is this cloud. No, electron is a self-defined orbit, and you could computers simulate and to see in this orbit and another orbit, other electrons and neutrons to match the magnetism, everything, because it is logical. It goes without problems in further development of this mathematics and modeling.
Yeah, yeah. That's really exciting. That is really exciting because we have different avenues. And one of the things that I found is different investigators, different people like to explore things in different ways that feel comfortable to them. Some people build things, other people do computer modeling, other people are
Yeah,
very focused on mathematics. And
yeah.
so by approaching your theory from different perspectives, hopefully we could
Mhm.
engage different people in different ways to
Yeah,
explore it
yeah.
more.
It has so many venue for explanation. I have also a book of um, well, physics of cold fusion, because the cold fusion is something that they have every year conferences. And here it is investigated a lot of options. Um, uh, for example, I investigated the friend Focardi. He died a few hours ago. After that, another guy started. But the Fogardi, he started with nickel and hydrogen and
Okay.
trying to get a copper. And by analysis of my things, I see the just a proper nickel isotope. If you get a proper nickel isotope and apply a proper magnetic field to a point datum, and you could get this fusion and get some small energy, but without radioactive waste. It could
Yeah.
be a small energy, but you don't need to. It is completely different that crush with a big pressure. No, it is just, for example, okay, this is this is helium, and this is deuterium.
Okay.
Here, there is all the atoms have a polar axis. And the magnetic field, because the neutrons are rotated, define this, you could put on the external magnetic field to arrange in this way. And also you could arrange the deuterium in this way. And by proper charge, you could accelerate the deuterium in this way and have to prevent the small repulsion from this distributed Coulomb forces. And after that, it could be stuck here by supergravitational forces. You get lithium. And you get differences masses by this lithium. And using then Einstein equation, that is valid. You calculate how much energy get from this process. This is example how to tailor the experiment for successful obtaining of cold fusion reaction. And my vision is, despite it is small, it is not like power nuclear by nuclear power, but it could be used, for example, for the space travel. Because to use this space travel, you still need energy.
Yeah.
But it should be energy enough to move this object. And if you develop this space travel by a local control of gravity, then you could make a complete different way of traveling. And
So
maybe
this would
some advice, some travel may even the control may even change the inertia of the object.
this
And
would be
to make this
throttleable microfusion then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly exciting. Stoyan, would you be open to doing a longer podcast with me? What I would do is I would take everything that we've talked about here and basically transcribe that and then come up with a list of questions that are a little bit more focused based on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry that my English is not
No,
very good.
you're wonderful. Your English is wonderful. You're doing great.
Because now I don't practice much because after retiring, I'm staying mainly here in Bulgaria. My mother language is Bulgaria. I don't know. Sometimes just I feel Bulgarian words, but English words some kind of confusion. If you use another language,
No, I
that's a
think
problem.
Your English is wonderful. Your English is wonderful.
Oh,
You lived in Canada for a very long time. So I think, right, you picked up a lot. Yeah.
yeah. But because I retired in 2012, it is 13 years ago.
Mm.
Now I am 80 years old now. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually I turned 50 in 1 month. So
But if you think that it could be useful, but
oh,
I think
absolutely.
the whole things are important, not just to make experiment of the anti-gravity. The whole things, as you say, how many venues, that is the theory. In nanotechnology, in pharmacology, in everything. I have article for the uh, biomolecule. In my chapter 11, I have article biomolecule also published in a journal. I found that biomolecule, especially protein, have ring structure of atoms that contain some kind of reservoirs of energy. And
Okay.
it is known that the biomolecule have some energy. I have some people that came from the state and the university. They say, we see they have energy, but how do they contain this energy? No, understand by this theory in the ring molecules. The quantum energy is contained rotating in ring, and in proper way it is distributed. And DNA molecule has billions of such circles.
Okay.
So DNA has energy, and this energy, by some pulse of the trend, is released suddenly, like a very strong energy. And it is some kind of communication between the different cells of the body.
So it sounds
Synchronization
like
of the cells.
you're almost talking about the consciousness realm then, right?
Yeah. Even I touch the consciousness, and I touch the low level of the they call information field. how this information field could be contained. And I have just the lower level explanation, this information field, because I investigated what is the magnetic line. Magnetic line is always closed line, permanent magnet. And because this closed line, the oscillation, this vector is synchronized, then supergravitational forces become very strong. So
Mm,
one closed magnetic line contains energy. That's why it is so stable. But in the same time, if change the phase in one place, it is simultaneously change another. It may be very stretched magnetic line, but the propagation is faster than the speed of light. And I think some experiment with lasers, I work a lot of lasers, they call quantum teleportation. This
yeah.
happens in quantum teleportation, the speed of light. But because it is close with magnetic lines, and this magnetic line may be stretched. Also, another things, these magnetic lines, the photons also, there is entangled photons in the lasers. I have worked with the laser, it is known.
Okay.
A few photons could be connected, and they're very difficult to separate. What happens if some long range of the uh, photons are connected the front end with the back end? It becomes like a circle. The energy, the 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 condition for speed of light is the light is the same. But did the energy circulate in the circle? It could not be detected by any electromagnetic detector because
Mm,
electromagnetic detect only when the photon hit the uh, the the detector with the speed of light. But this is kind of some flexible. You could not hit, and it could exist. And because the photons could be right polarized or left polarized, if you have circles, one left, one right, you get information of 2 bits. And it could exist independently, once created, could exist independently in the sky. It
okay.
will be not the level of the information field.
Yeah.
And this circular could be created just by this atomic circle. That's a billions in the DNA and also in the protein in the brain, billions and billions. And they could generate this kind of field that's different than electromagnetic. It stays in place. It doesn't propagate to the speed of light. No,
Interesting.
out of
Yeah.
genius.
So that's almost like it almost reminds me that maybe the power and the scale of like quantum computing, but on a cellular level, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. Well, Stoyan, it's been just a little over an hour. I'm happy to stay with you as long as you'd like to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Um, but
We can do it.
I would definitely love to schedule. I would love to schedule another one, and what I'll do is send you an introduction and questions in advance too. I have notes
Mm-hmm.
on things that were good to cover, but now that you've been able to
Mm-hmm.
explain those more, I can draft better questions to try and
Yeah,
highlight
it would be
those.
better questions because it is so vast to, yeah, better like a question and also to a proper time because now you say it is approaching the Christmas holidays and
Yeah,
yeah.
we're getting yeah. I've been wrapping presents and doing the
Mm-hmm.
yeah the family activities. I
Yeah.
hope everything is going
Mm-hmm.
well for you. I hope that you're
Mm-hmm.
hope everyone in your life is
And
happy and healthy
I
and
try to get this knowledge why they propagated because it is not easy. It is difficult because completely different. The people mind is not adjusted to some huge difference. And where could if we make this kind of conversation and you make a record, where could you put this
well, so
record?
if you're open to it, I would love to do some minor editing on this notes. I could
Yeah.
put this on the alt propulsion channel, and we could use this for the conference as kind of a primer. And then for the
Mm-hmm.
podcast, I have a separate podcast channel there. And my
Mm-hmm.
thought would be to use those as well as the summary materials and stuff like that. I could also
Mm-hmm.
write a longer story online and
Mm-hmm.
And then my hope would be to provide some simple, basically provide some simple doors for people to come into your work. The experiments are one of those where we could say, okay, here is the result, here is the theory that produced it. And then people can kind of tiptoe into it, I guess, without having to learn everything in advance, if that makes sense.
And what is your channel? You have a YouTube channel or what?
Yeah,
What kind of your broadcast?
I have two of them. I have two YouTube channels. So the first one is the Alt Propulsion channel, and I'm more than welcome to send those over to you. I'm happy to send those over.
Send me the link to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I will send those over. And then my podcast channel, in some ways it is more of a talk show, but it's almost the same thing that we're doing right here. But I structure that in more of a Q&A setting, and so it's a kind of a different format. And I cover science and technology on both of those. So
Okay.
yeah.
And I also would like a new web page where you put about the Sarg effect to put the
Oh, sure.
bottom this link that I send you. That's a workable
Yes.
link.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely, I want to link to your books. I want to link to your website. You've given me a bunch of materials. Yeah, again, the goal is to, with things like this video here, I'll do some editing and I'll put this up on Alt Propulsion. The goal is really to give people enough to get them interested without overwhelming them, and then provide
Yeah.
resources so they can follow up and learn more.
Yeah. Okay. In parallel of this, I will touch, because this is important, the prosperity that offered by this way of knowledge to the
And
humanities, to avoid
I,
this dangerous situation of the nuclear war that could end the
well,
life.
and Stoyan, I'm also, again, it is truly an honor to be able to speak with you. Your work has been recognized and valued for decades, and there are a lot of people out there who are saying, "Look, you have to take Stoyan's work seriously," right? So, again, thank you. It's been an honor to speak with you, but it's also like it feels like it's an opportunity to help expose other people to this as well, and that's the bigger
Yeah.
excitement for me. So
Okay, so I will expect you to send me your links to your broadcast, and
absolutely,
I will
absolutely.
try to do this.
Okay, well, Stoyan, thank you
Okay.
again, and have a wonderful evening, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.